Good morning, everyone. Jill here with North Texas Vegetable Gardening, canning recipes, a little bit of everything. Wanted to visit with you guys. I belong to a group on Facebook that's called North Texas Gardeners. They almost took my name. But anyway, so many people are asking about prepping and how to prepare for the, and I'm going to say CHTF. But you all know exactly what I'm talking about, and if you don't, ask around and you'll find out pretty quick. But anyway, it's never occurred to me because Greg and I have tried to be self-sustaining and self-sufficient for years, and we really felt like that the Lord was calling us to garden and to be a little bit better prepared, to just keep certain things on hand in the event of an emergency. Now, guys, this was all before the situation that hit last year. And there was a time last year when we could not get to the store for quite some time, probably at least a month, but we did have everything we needed. And when we finally did go to the store, it was a wake-up call. You know, I did a couple of videos last year on going to the grocery store and shortages and having to wear a mask, and things have changed so drastically in the last year, and it's sad to me. I know there's a lot of people out there that are still struggling. I'm one of them. I still struggle with the situation that's happened in the last year and a half, and the uncertainty that's happening everywhere we look. So we do watch a couple of other channels, and I'm sure you know some of them. If you're watching the news and if you're watching some of these other channels, sometimes you just don't even know what to say. You just don't even know what to think anymore, because of the way things have changed so drastically in the last year and a half. So used to, for prepping, we just kept, bottled water on hand, and we kept a little bit of rice, a little bit of beans, and tried to keep some bread in the freezer and keeping our freezer stocked. And we've always gardened conventionally, and with our harvest, we've canned and we've frozen some of the things, and now we're using the Harvest Right freeze dryer. But just in the last 2 to 3 years, we really felt a sense of urgency to ramp it up. And I've never considered us preppers, but I've considered us prepared. But now I think that maybe some people would consider us preppers because of all the avenues that we're starting to use to make sure that we can take care of us and our families. And some of those changes that have come about, if you've been watching our channel, if you haven't, go back and look at some of our videos, is we are changing from conventional gardening, although we still grow in the ground, to high tunnel gardening and raised bed gardening, wicking tub methods. So we're trying to get more sufficient and more efficient with how we grow our food, and to better the odds for us, to make sure that we get what we need. We've traditionally grown squash and zucchini and cucumbers, and the cucumbers I pickle and make pickles out of, and but gosh, we've ramped it up, guys. We've ramped it up to so many other things that we need, that has a lot of protein and nutritional value. So if you're new to prepping and you're worried about the world situation because of what you're seeing on the news and what's happening around you, here are some tips that I want to give you that I think are practical, just completely practical and not overboard. So first off, you want to make sure you have a good water supply on hand. So we have ramped up our bottled water. You can look into the 55-gallon drums, the blue drums that are food and water safe. From what I understand, Tractor Supply has them. We have another local place here. Depends on where you get them. They're anywhere from $35 to $105. Again, it depends on where you get them. But 55 gallons of water is a great start, along with bottled water. You can store a 55-gallon drum practically anywhere in your home or in your garage, and pick up some water purification solution or tablets, and that's very cheap. You can get that on Amazon. or some of the websites like Emergency Essentials, and I think it's beprepared.com. So that's the first place I'd start, because without water, you pretty much can't do anything else moving forward that I'm fixing to tell you. So we have some of these water storage tanks, but this one was rather expensive. My husband purchased these for to store his fertilizer and stuff in for the garden, but he realized he wanted to go a different route. So what we also have is we have 7-gallon clear white containers that were $7 at the time we bought them. They've probably gone up a little bit now, but they were very cost efficient, or cheap. I'm just going to say cheap. They were very cheap considering what you're going to get out of them. So you want to make sure you have ample water on hand. Another thing, and we all know this, is beans and rice. I mean, you want high protein, high calorie foods that are going to fuel you. The normal average person needs about 2,000 calories a day. I think that my husband, he's a pretty beefy guy, Greg is, and I think that because I would need his energy and I would need his strength, the mighty mule, he would probably need about 2,500 to 3,000 calories a day to keep things going. I could probably survive off about 1,700 to 2,000 calories a day. Our body builds are totally different, and I'm very, very thin, and my husband is very beefy. That's just the fact. So we are looking at protein rich. We want carbs and nutrient rich foods. So some of the things that you want to grow in your fall garden, and guys, start with what you have. Start with what you have. You don't have to go out and buy a high tunnel or build a raised bed or buy the wicking tubs, although the wicking tubs are cost efficient. You can just, start digging in your ground, get you a good place to grow. But the nutrient dense foods that you can grow starting in the fall that are very easy, many of them are super easy to grow, are kale, red cabbage, carrots, spinach, collards, beets, turnips. A lot of your greens are going to be your nutrient rich. Brussels sprouts, but Brussels sprouts take a very long time to grow. But if you want to go ahead and try to get some seeds started and grow them this winter, it's a good time to start doing that now. In fact, the video before this one, you'll see my seed starting that I've been doing the last couple of days. So another thing, kale is number one, guys, and that's super easy to grow. Kale is nutrient dense, but another super easy thing to grow, and very quick turnaround, like 21 to 28 days, depending on which variety, are your radishes. And radishes, you're gonna start being able to plant those here in the next 4 weeks, depending on where you're at and the cooler weather, and you can rotate those in and you can rotate those out. But those are some of the nutrient dense rich foods. Now beets take a little longer. Turnips are pretty quick. You can if you get some purple top turnips in the ground, they're pretty quick. So I would go ahead and try to get some turnips. And turnips you can use as a potato substitute. You can roast them, you can mash them, and they have a very delightful flavor that we enjoy. And you can also can turnips, and you can can beets, which I've done both. So let me think here. So rice and beans, and canned meats, spam, canned ham. There are a couple of labels of a couple of brands of hamburger meat that you can get canned. It's quite pricey, and canned chicken, quite pricey. But if you wanted to take it up a little step, you could go ahead and buy those and make sure you have plenty of canned goods. Remember that anything you put in your freezer, try to have a generator for. Again, these might be going a little overboard with the generator and the high tunnels and stuff that we've talked about, but I would highly suggest that anybody try to obtain a generator, just simply to keep your freezers or your refrigerator going, or a window unit AC, especially if you're in the south, because it is burning up here. We've got a dual generator, which is you can use on propane or you can use on gasoline, that will keep us going in the event that we're down for a couple of days. We hope that we don't come to that. But you remember back in February we had that winter storm through here. My daughter didn't have heat or electricity for a week, and they had to come out here and stay with us. And we were prepared, but I'll tell you that we went through like 5 cases of water in 3 days. bottled water. So that's how quick, and that was in the middle of the winter. That wasn't even summertime. And that wasn't, that was basically the drinking water. And then the other was used for cooking and stuff. So goodness gracious, guys, I mean, you don't realize how much you can go through. So I would start with your water, your rice, your beans, your canned goods. Try to get some canned meats. Spam, of course, is a big deal. We keep the Vienna sausages on hand. We can out of our garden. If you grow kale or Swiss chard or spinach, you can can spinach. You can can Swiss chard. I've never canned kale, but you can dehydrate it. Or you can freeze dry it. And you can use that. And a lot of ovens have a dehydrator setting on them. Or you can just do it in your oven if you can get the temperature to go low enough. So we have started with water, beans, and rice. Let's see, what else can you do? You want to make sure, of course, that you have oil lamps to light your house, flashlights, plenty of batteries on hand. We have all of it. We have rechargeable flashlights. We have battery operated flashlights. We have the old oil lamps on hand, quite a few that will allow us to light the house. We have emergency candles that burn like 100 hours. Or you can just go to the dollar store and get you just a bunch of candles to light up your house. Let's see, you want to make sure you have your medications. Try to stay ahead on your meds. A little first aid kit is what you would need. Ibuprofen, Tylenol, maybe Orajel for toothaches. We have a toothache plant growing in the Tower of Power. Let's see, fever reducers, naproxen, which is a leave, muscle, for muscle strains, anti-inflammatories. But some of the things that you can grow to help with that as well is ginger. And I'm doing really good with my ginger this year. That's also a nutrient-dense or nutrient-rich plant. And ginger is used for anti-inflammatory and stomach aches. And if you can't grow ginger, you can buy it at the store and just try to keep it in a cool, dry place so that you can use it. I also keep ginger beer on hand. It is a non-alcoholic beverage, but I'll tell you what, it is so good for an upset stomach or even anti-inflammatory. Get your vitamins, zinc, vitamin D3. We take several different supplements to keep our immune systems cranked up, and there's lots of good ones out there. Ashwagandha is one of them as well. So keep your zinc, your vitamin D3, ashwagandha, multivitamin, probiotics, prebiotics, alcohol. You want to keep hydrogen peroxide on hand, wound care, band-aids, bandages. Let's see, what else do we keep on hand in the event? We even have a suture kit. We keep a suture kit on hand. And you can get a suture kit pretty cheap, and you can also get lidocaine online. We keep syringes on hand. We have lots of dog food. I've got about 7 50-pound bags of dog food. We have 2 very large dogs, and then we have a little dog who is diabetic, so she's on a special diet. So we keep several months for her on hand and insulin for her. So if you're diabetic or if any of your animals are diabetic, you want to make sure you have what you need for that. Benadryl is a big thing. You can buy a huge bottle of Benadryl that has like 600 tablets, probably $14, $9 to $14, and I keep that on hand. Benadryl is a very big thing. I have allergies. I take allergy shots every other day, but Benadryl does seem to help me, and Benadryl is also good for sleep. A lot of people take it for sleep and sometimes anxiety, and it does have a calming effect on certain people. For me, I take it for sleep and for my allergies. So make sure you have certain medical supplies, nutrient-dense foods. You want to be practical again. Now, if you want to take it a step up, and wicking tubs is a great way to grow. We have found that this year our plants in wicking tubs, we can grow all kinds of things in wicking tubs. And there's a video out that my husband did 2 or 3 months ago that will show you how to make a wicking tub. And then there's Leon out there. Leon is very good, and he is very knowledgeable. And I think all the channels that I follow know who Leon is, and we watch Leon too. And then there's raised beds. You can build a raised bed pretty cheap. Depending on how deep you make it, it's the highest cost is going to be the soil and what you put in it. You want to make sure that you do get some good garden soil for your raised bed. But guys, last year in a 4 by 8 foot raised bed, and only half of it, I was able to grow, I think it was about 8 8 to 10 pints of green beans. So, gosh, even just a small 4x8 raised bed grew me quite a few bush beans and some other items. You could put squash, zucchini, tomato plants. Now, of course, we're coming to the end of the season for those things. But for a raised bed, you can put your kale and your spinach and carrots. And you want to try to get some carrots in the ground and beets and turnips, radishes. So be sure and look in your area and see what things grow good and what time of year you need to get them started. So the seed company that we mainly use is Baker Heirloom or Baker Creek Heirloom, and their website is rareseeds.com. They have lots of great seeds on there, and you should go ahead and get you some for the fall if it's not too late for you. I know up north you guys are probably starting much sooner than me, but in the south I think you still got some time. And while you're in there, go ahead and pick up your spring seeds, because we did run into a seed shortage springtime, not this past year, but the year before. So I'm always trying to stay ahead a season or two on buying my seeds, and then we are harvesting seeds from our garden. Learn how to do that. All kinds of great information out on YouTube on how to harvest your seeds and how to start your garden, and my channel is one of them. You know, I ask that you go check it out if you're just now visiting my channel and seeing what I have to say on this subject. But yeah, we have lots of videos out there as well. So I want to make sure I try to cover everything. Can you take it and spend lots of money and ensure that you have maybe a 25-year storage? You absolutely you can. We just invested in a Harvest Right freeze dryer, and it came in just a couple of weeks ago, and we've already done our first batch. Our second batch is in there too. We used to buy the number 10 cans from Emergency Essentials, and sometimes it's pricey, sometimes it's not, but it's been pricey here recently, and I think because of the world situation. But so now we're going to be doing that ourselves, and we really think that even though that was a big expense, we'll probably pay for that in the first year with just our garden harvest and what we have in the freezer. So we're going to start taking things out of the freezer and freeze drying on, and that's going to free up us more storage space. So we'll have our freeze dried food, we'll have our freezer, and then we also can. And if you want to learn how to can, don't be afraid. It's not as hard as you think. I know the first time that I used it, it scared me to death. Actually hit around the corner as the pressure was starting to ramp up, and locked my dogs up in the other side of the house. But after a couple of times, you get the gist of it and you get comfortable with it, and you can get a canner. Now I'll tell you, I bought mine for $89 a couple of years ago, and I saw them last year for $200, the same size. So everything is going up, everything. But if you can find you a good canner, and go ahead and get you some canning jars, and learn how to can your foods, whether it's meats or vegetables. I've canned cookies, I've canned crackers. You can do all of that. You can can your flour, your dry goods, to make sure that you have that and it lasts a little bit longer on your shelf. So learn some of these techniques, learn some of the old ways. I've had my grandson in here canning. He's not quite there yet, but I intend, he just turned 8. I intend to keep fostering that, and we get him working out here in these high tunnels and in the gardens with us, because that's something that needs to be handed down, guys, to our families. They truly are lost ways, and people wouldn't even have a clue how to preserve and can their own food. And I'm seeing that on these Facebook groups. People are not knowing what to do with their food and with the gardens that they're growing. So I hope this is a helpful video to you. I hope you ponder and think about what you got and what you don't got, and what you think you want to spend money on and what you think you don't. But start little, start slow. Just make sure, you know, you have your rice and beans in your water. I'd get some spaghetti sauces, canned spaghetti sauces, some pastas. Like I said, the canned meats, the Spam, maybe some powdered eggs, stuff like that, powdered milk. These are all things that we started out with early on to keep in. And I felt some great comfort, even though we were nowhere near what we are now. There was quite a bit of comfort in knowing, my gosh, what I did have. And there was a time in my life where if I had $20 tucked away in a drawer, I felt like I was the wealthiest person in the world, because I could eat a couple of weeks off $20, and probably still could. And but anyway, start small, be practical. Think about what you want. Think about what you want to do. Think about if you have to take care of your family. Think about medical needs. So, you know, I'm sure you got a lot to think about now after this video, and just wanted to be upfront with you. Like I said, if you're watching the news, things are terrible. I mean, and very scary. And I know a lot of it may be based, fear-based, and we don't fear. We get prepared, and when people think I'm doing this because I'm fearful, I always go back to the Lord telling Joseph to preparing for 7 years of famine. He gave him 7 years to prepare for famine, 7 years of prosperity, to prepare for the 7 years of famine. And there are so many like-minded channels out there like us guys, and they all seem to be believers, and they all seem to follow the Lord, and we all seem to be doing the same thing. So I'm wondering if God isn't giving us the very same message. Because I'll tell you, if something happens, my family will be here with us. And we just have to prepare for our families to be with us, and to take care of them. So, I know that was a lot of information. I know I was trying to think of a lot of things to tell you. I wanted to try to cover all the bases, but I want you to be aware of what's going on, and I want you to be as prepared as you can. Again, it doesn't cost a lot of money. You could just probably invest, I don't know, $50, $25, $50. I know that's a lot to some of you, but try your best to buy an extra case of water, or buy, you know, 5 or 6 pounds of beans and rice, or a couple of cans of Spam when you go through your grocery store buying run. So anyway, I hope that you all are doing well. It's promising to be a grueling hot day today. We are cranking up more than ever. I'm trying to keep things planted, seasonal appropriate veggies planted. Got lots of things going on. If you've been following me, you know exactly what we're planting and what we're planting for. And so that's about all I have to say. I hope that you have a great weekend. Got to get back to it. Take care. God bless. And we will be in touch.